Hello and welcome back to my garden. As you can see, I have uncovered my in-ground beds. For those of you not in the know, maybe new subscribers to the channel, over the winter time, what I had done was covered up all of this ground here with weed fabric. The reason I do that is because I'm in eastern North Carolina, growing zone 8B, and weeds will grow over the winter time. So what I do is I cover up the ground here. That prevents weeds from growing, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, it provides a shelter for fire ants, which is not so fantastic, and I've already run across a couple of very large nests in here, which is fine. This is what happens when you garden down here in the south. What I took the opportunity to do yesterday was to figure out what rows I was going to create. Basically the same thing as I did last year. I believe I have a total of 10 rows. The far end all the way down at the fence line, I have my daylilies in. Keep my daylilies here inside the fenced vegetable garden because deer will eat them down to the ground. The next row, we will be planting something new. Well, we'll be planting something we've grown before, but it'll be in a new location, kind of. We'll talk about more of that when I get down there. In the next two rows, I have my garlic in ground. I also have garlic in raised beds. We'll talk more about that when I get there. But then I have 7 rows here that are not doing anything. In years past, I've tried growing tomatoes in the ground here, and they grow. They just are stunted for various reasons, and then the bugs get to them, and it's a story. I've grown basil on the ground here. I've grown squashes. Last year I had a bad year with squashes and pumpkins because Peter Cottontail came into the garden and decided to eat the bases of all the squashes and the pumpkins, that kind of. So it did not turn out too well for those. Grown corn in the ground here. Haven't had too much problem with that other than raccoons trying to pull off or successfully pulling off low growing ears of corn that they can reach. But this year, I decided to do something completely different. And one of the things that led me to do this was last year out in the flower garden in front of the house, I grew zinnia. And according to the book, zinnia are deer resistant. So when something says deer resistant, there's like a 50-50 chance we'll actually resist the deer. And unfortunately for me, my deer loved zinnia. So they ate my zinnias down. Some of my zinnias survived after being cut in half, but they never recovered really. So here we are. So what we're doing today is we're starting my zinnias here in the vegetable garden. Now I have grown some zinnias here in the vegetable garden before, but it's always been like a couple here, a couple there, because I wanted to save the rest of the bed space for actual vegetable crops. This year, we're going all flowers, or at least mostly flowers. I mean, you've got garlic down there, at least until I harvest it. But for the rest of these beds, we're going zinnias. And I may even add in a few other plants later on that are not deer proof. So I will grow them here inside the vegetable garden. The other thing that I love to grow that the deer love to eat are sunflowers. I'd love to grow them out in the flower garden. Unfortunately, the deer would eat them. So I grow them, and I have been growing them for years now inside the vegetable garden here. And what I normally do is I grow them along the side of the vegetable garden here along the fence line. It provides a little bit of support and they look wonderful. So with all that being said, let me bring you guys in and let's start planting. First thing I'm going to start planting today, right here, right at the edge, are some sunflowers, and the variety I'm growing is Pikes Peak. These can get up to 12 to 15 feet tall. I've grown these before. I do enjoy these. Unfortunately, these seeds here are a few years old. I believe they're 2 years old. Let's see, 2023. Yeah, they're 2 years old. And if I can actually get the packet open, we can start sowing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to oversow because these are 2-year-old seeds, so I don't know what's going to germinate or not germinate. Recommended is about 8 inches apart. I'm going to be planting these 2 inches apart. As I said, they are getting old, and 2 inches apart is not a lot of space. If all these germinated, then what I'd do is I would just thin out like every couple. If I get 2 over here, great. If I get 4 over here, even better. I think 4 is the maximum amount I would like in this little space right here. And you may be wondering, but Jason, you have all this space behind you. I know, but I have other varieties of sunflowers I want to plant. And we're going to start the next one at this post and work our way over. The next variety I'm going to plant is Mongolian Giant. These have ridiculously large heads. I grew this variety last year, I believe. The heads can get 16 to 18 inches across. I mean, that's huge. And they can get up to 14 feet tall, so a little shorter than Pike's Peak, but we will see what happens. I think these get planted about an inch deep as well. Now, these are new seeds. These are 2025. And yes, I'm gonna have to trim back some of this growth from my hedge here. So I'm going to plant these about 8 inches apart. I think as the instructions suggest. So from here over, if I can get 4 to 6 flowers, that'd be fantastic. Depending upon the weather and how things go and how long these last, I may even do a second crop of sunflowers either here or probably elsewhere here in the vegetable garden at a later date. Here in this first row, I'm going to grow some zinnias that I started from seed. Now, I would have started more from zinnias from seed, but I was starting so many other annuals and perennials in my greenhouse, I literally ran out of space. So I did start some zinnia from seed. And these are, the first ones I'm going to plant up are Zinnia Mazarukia. Mazarukia. So we're going to do this. And we're just going to pop that in there, cover it up, leave the tag there. Same thing over here. Go. Probably could or should leave a little bit more space between these. Always got to keep an eye out for those ants. I could leave a little bit more space between these, but I want them to be densely planted, just to sort of form a big solid wall of color. The next two are a little larger than those. I forget, I think these get to like 3.5 feet tall or so. This is Oklahoma White. Just do that, pop that in the ground. And the same thing here. That tucked in, press that down. So far as all this bare soil is concerned, what I will do over the next month or so as I mow the lawn here in the vegetable garden is I'll take those grass clippings and I'll just put them down all around the plants here. That'll act as a mulch and it'll help the ground retain moisture. Now, thankfully, where I am in growing a Zone 8B, we have a very long growing season. So I can put my zinnia directly into the ground as seed and then let it grow from there. And with our heat and hopefully with quite a bit of moisture this year, hopefully have a much wetter year than we did last year, these will pop up in no time and then be flowering by, I don't know, May, June. We're in May now, June. This next variety I'm doing is Benary's Giant Coral. I've grown this before, I do like it. It grows up to 4 feet tall, so it's quite the tall plant. So we're gonna do that. I'm just gonna make some little holes here. And again, I'm going to go with the premise of oversowing. I don't know what seeds are going to germinate or not germinate, and I can always thin out. So I really kind of want the plants to be at least 2 feet apart. So I'm going to make the hole, but I'm going to make the holes about 6 inches apart, and we'll see what germinates. And just like the other row we did, I'm only going to do half the row of the giant coral here because I have so many different varieties of zinnias this year, and I want to grow them all, or as many as I can. So we have two of each in the first row. In the second row, I'm going to do 2 of each, so on and so forth. There we go. And the one thing I forgot to do was make up labels. So I'm temporarily going to stick this seed packet right there, and then we're going to go do the next one. Now, this is one I tried growing last year in front of the house, and I did get some success out of it, but not a lot. And this is Polar Bear. This one only gets to about 3 foot high, and same rules apply. Plant about 1/4 of an inch deep. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to make these little holes. How do you grow your zinnias? Do you grow zinnias? Well, you guys got to let me know in those comments below. If you do grow zinnias, how do you grow them? Do you grow them in a protected space like this? Do you grow them out in your flower garden in front of your house? And the same thing, I'm just going to stick the seed packet there, cover up each of these holes. There we go. In this row, we're going to do half as Benary's Giant Yellow. Again, another zinnia that gets to about 4 foot tall. You know what, we'll just do a line and temporarily stick the seed packet there. Next one, we're going to go with one of my wife's favorite colors, orange. This is Benary's, I don't know how you pronounce that word, Benary's Giant Orange. Now, these seeds are, again, 2 years old, so I have been sowing them a little thickly, But again, I can always come back and thin out whatever I don't want and leave about 2 foot of spacing. So really all I want is 2 plants here, 2 plants over there, 2 plants, 2 plants, and they will fill out and bush up by the end of the season. Now these next 2 seeds are very different. They're both zinnia, but they're quite different. So the first one is Benary's Giant Purple. And when I mean different from one another. Because this Giant Purple can get up to 4 foot tall, like many of the other giant zinnias. And this next zinnia is one I've never grown before. Profusion Red Single. And it is a different plant. It's a different zinnia because it only gets to about 12 inches tall according to this. No, I apologize, 18 inches tall. So whereas the giants get up to 4 foot, this is going to be much shorter at only 18 inches. Ooh, these seeds are tiny, tiny. These seeds are also dyed yellow. I presume they're dyed yellow. So they're easier to see with my old eyes. I'm going to save a few. And what I may do is sow them in a pot. Because if they only get to 12 inches tall, that might be pretty neat to have a few of them in a pot. In this next row, I'm going to use my Cobra weeder here to make 2 separate trenches. And I'm going to plant Lavender Queen, and behind the Lavender Queen I'm going to do some Queen Lime and then cover back up. In this next row I'm going to be doing El Dorado and Cherry Queen, and that's all of my zinnias. But I still have a row empty behind me, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But there is one more row that I know what I want to do with. I'm going to go show you that. Now, one of the plants I grew last year, which I really enjoyed, was cotton. So I'm going to grow cotton again. This is a variety called Red Foliated. It has these big red leaves on it. It's lovely. And in the fall, I think it's kind of late, yeah, in the late fall, early, let's say mid to late fall, the plant, after it flowers, produces the cotton, which is really cool. So I'm going to pop these, one here, and I think I'm going to do one probably right about here. We will see what happens, but they should take up all this space and get to about 4, maybe 5 feet tall. In front of them, I'm going to plant something that's pretty normal, but most people don't plant, I don't think at least, most people don't plant this for this reason. I'm going to be planting up basil, but I'm not planting the basil for the leaves. I'm planting the basil for the flowers. Because I don't know about you guys, but my bees down here absolutely love basil flowers. There we go. These are planted fairly close together, but that's okay. I kind of want that. This way it gives almost like a hedge appearance. The variety of basil that I'm growing is Genovese basil, which is probably common in most gardens, I would think. And I do enjoy eating Genovese basil, but unfortunately down here with our heat in eastern North Carolina, this stuff bolts so fast. Probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, they'll be yay tall. And then very shortly afterwards, they'll start flowering. And the bees will be quite happy. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, I still have this whole row to figure out what I'm going to plant up. I may go online, see if somebody's having a zinnia sale. I think I might have missed them all, but you never know. There's Mother's Day sales coming up soon, so maybe I can take advantage of some of those and plant maybe some more zinnias, or find another flower that I'd love to grow out in the flower garden, but can't simply because of the deer. Maybe I'll do marigolds. I don't know. So maybe I'll do something else. If you guys have suggestions of what I should plant out flower-wise, at least into those 2 beds come June, July, something that can really tolerate the heat and does well in the heat, let me know in those comments below. You may be wondering what all these canes are and why do I have pots on top of them. The pots answer is pretty simple, so I don't poke myself in the eye. I can sometimes be accident prone, especially if I've been out here in the heat for prolonged periods of time and I'm just not concentrating as much, the heat's getting to me. I don't want to bend over and poke myself in the eye, so I throw up these pots, put these pots on the canes. You may have noticed I have a little brown dog that runs around the garden. She's inside in the air conditioning right now. She's the smart one. But I was wondering how to keep the dog from stepping on all the young seedlings as they come up. And I had a thought, what if I put a cane on each end of the bed? Since all of these seedlings are in the middle of the bed, what I'm thinking about doing is running a length of string. In fact, I can show you right now. So here's my thought, is that I can take a bit of string, a bit of twine, and tie it one end to a cane, and the other end to a cane. And this is my thinking, and I could be wrong on this, we're gonna find out. But as the plants come up, I can use this twine, because there's two pieces right here, as support for the plant, support for the seedlings. And also I'm thinking that Sophie would be more likely to go around than try, or hop over, than to try obviously to walk through. Oh, it's just a few inches above. And then what I may wind up doing as the plant gets larger, again, to act as plant support, is just run another couple of lines on these canes to help support the plants from tipping over, especially because there might be days where we have fairly strong winds. Today is a fairly windy day. So this is what I'm thinking. So I'm not going to bore you with me tying up the rest of these canes or watering or even coming back and labeling, but I will label these and I will be watering these very shortly. You may have also noticed that the title of this video is not a cut flower garden or something to that extent. And that's because everything I planted today is not intended to be a cut flower garden. Although this kind of does look like a cut flower garden, that's not the intention of the garden. It's just simply to grow the flowers that I want to grow without the deer having to eat them. Now, if we do wind up taking cuttings from these, great. I'm not going to go to any sort of length to try to grow these as cut flowers. And there are ways that you could do that so you get longer stems. This way they're better for cut flowers. I don't even know if you could do that with zinnias, but maybe you can. If I remember correctly in my heat-addled mind, Floret Flowers, she wrote a book some years ago, Cut Flower Gardens, where she talks about how to grow flowers for a cut flower garden. It's not sponsored. It's just, this is what just came to the top of my head. And I'm sure there's many other books on cut flower gardens. If you guys have a cut flower garden, please let me know in the comments below. It'll be interesting to see what comes up or if any of these come up. And then, of course, what I will be planting in the other additional rows. Again, if you guys have suggestions, please leave them below. I'd be much appreciated. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, because there's so much going on here in the garden, as I always say. And I think probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, we'll do a tour of the vegetable garden here, and I will show you everything that's growing in the raised beds, and we'll see what's coming up here in the in-ground beds. In the meantime, there's still more planting to be done out in the flower garden, and I'm going to start a new space in the flower garden, something that's going to be pretty different and unique. So you might want to follow along for that. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. The sun is cooking my brain. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.